Hey guys, how's it going? It's Etanyos here. Welcome to this NHL 20 Edmonton Oilers wrap-up video where we are going to go through the next, 5 to 10 seasons of the Oilers Franchise Mode that I had running on my channel a month or so back. And we are just going to go through, see how the rest of this franchise mode plays out, and get to the point where pretty much McDavid and Draisaitl retire. I will follow up on that a little bit later in the video, but if you're looking forward to this video and the new content I'm going to be bringing to my channel, then please go down below and consider subscribing. It helps me out to know that I've got new subscribers and viewers coming in all the time to watch my videos, and it just helps me stay motivated as a content creator. But anyways, let's jump into the video. So, starting off here, the Oilers, we headed into the 2026 playoff bracket, and we were up against the LA Kings, where we were able to beat the Kings as well as the Colorado Avalanche before finally falling to the St. Louis Blues in the conference finals with a 4-2 loss there, and St. Louis would go on to lose to the eventual Stanley Cup champions Toronto in the finals to end off 2026. Moving over to the AHL quickly, you can see here that the Condors were only able to make the playoffs. They got knocked out by the Colorado Eagles early on, and that was it for their playoff run, and that didn't go very far. So as you guys can see here, the Oilers win their third Stanley Cup in 5 years for the 2026/27 season. They also win their third President's Trophy and third Clarence Campbell Bowl. The Carolina Hurricanes win the Prince of Wales Trophy there for team awards. McDavid wins himself an Art Ross as well as a Hart Memorial Trophy. The Norris goes to Heiskanen. The Lady Byng goes to Yamamoto. The Calder goes to Warner. The Conn Smythe goes to Chubasov. The Vezina goes to Louis Domingue. The Jennings goes to Subban. The Basterton goes to Fleury. Anaheim's coach gets the Jack Adams. The Selke goes to Couturier. McDavid wins the Lindsay and the Rocket as well. Heading into the off-season, we had a couple big-name retirees here, such as Eric Stahl, Claude Giroux, Bergeron, all the way down to Blake Wheeler there. You can see on the list, all those guys had over 1,000 points, so pretty crazy. Drew Doughty and John Carlson both in there, too, with 900 points as defensemen is absolutely insane. Looking at the goalies, Carey Price retired in 2026 here, and as you can see there, 473 wins is no small feat, as he played almost 1,000 career games for Montreal, retired with the Canadiens, and just had a fabulous career there as a goalie. So heading into the 2026 draft, the Oilers didn't have any crazy picks. We did trade up to draft an NHL-ready top 6 center in Rice there, but besides that, Nils Trop was okay, but the names you really need to pay attention to for the future seasons here is Rice and Meyer, because those two guys would guaranteed be sticking with the Oilers. Heading into the offseason, the Oilers had a lot of unrestricted free agents here. As you can see, McDavid, Bouchard, Hampus Lindholm, those were kind of our big name players that were hitting unrestricted free agency. Fortunately, we were able to sign just about everybody off of that list back to the team, except for Ryan McLeod, who decided it was time to part ways with the team. Heading into the 2027 or 26/27 season, we were expected to advance to the finals and, just increase revenue by building a parking lot, win at least 6 home games, and that that would be a little bit of a challenge, but this was our lineup heading into that next season, as obviously we had a pretty crazy-looking team there. As you can see, Draisaitl, Yamamoto, all those guys were just looking insanely good, and the lineup was really starting to click overall. The +1 chemistry along that entire group makes it look extremely intriguing and good-looking. But you can also see here on the defense, Miro Heiskanen along with Bouchard is just a crazy pairing. Obviously, we had depth in Klefbom and Lindholm, but those guys were starting to get a little expensive. Same with Vaikanainen and Kyle Wood. In goal, we had Stuart Skinner and Nick Malik, as those guys all were, the team was looking really good overall. So heading into the 2026/27 season, the Oilers had a pretty strong looking roster overall. 100 offense, 91 defense, and 80 goaltending is it's not a weak team by any means. Obviously, things could be a little better, but that's all right. It works out anyways. And as you can see there, the Oilers finished number 1 in the entire league at the end of the 2026/27 season with 116 points, winning themselves, what number was this? This was their 3rd President's Trophy in 5 years. So yes, a very good number there to see. And then when we get to the league scoring, this is where things kind of got ridiculous. We damn nearly had 5 100-point scorers. Tyler Benson just 3 points off of 100. McDavid breaks 130. Draisaitl breaks 120. Chubasov and Yamamoto both break 110 points on the season. So really, there was no question that we had pretty much the strongest team on our hands. Moving into the playoffs, things went according to plan as the Oilers walked through the first 2 rounds against Chicago and Vegas, winning in 5 games in both those series. St. Louis put up a bit more of a fight in a 6-game series there in the conference finals as we met St. Louis yet again, man. We meet St. Louis a lot. But the Oilers were able to take a 7-game finals against the Carolina Hurricanes, who really didn't have all that tough of playoffs either, except for coming up against us. In the AHL, this is where, things kind of just capped off, made this season about as perfect as it possibly could be, as the Bakersfield Condors were able to win the Calder Cup this season for the 2nd time in this franchise mode, making the Oilers the organization in hockey with their AHL system winning the Calder Cup, as well as the Oilers winning the Stanley Cup. So for 2027/28, the Oilers win a back-to-back Stanley Cup, as well as President's Trophy and Clarence Campbell Bowl there. Obviously, those all make sense. Toronto wins the Prince of Wales in the East for team awards. For player awards, McDavid wins himself a back-to-back Art Ross and Hart Memorial. Zach Werenski wins the Norris. Yamamoto wins back-to-back Lady Byng trophies. The Calder goes to Knight on Anaheim there. The Conn Smythe goes to Connor McDavid this year instead of Chubasov. The Vezina goes to Vasilevsky as well as the Jennings. As far as the Masterton goes, that went to Brant Clark. The Jack Adams goes to Winnipeg's coach. The Selke goes to Ryan O'Reilly on Boston. McDavid wins another Ted Lindsay Award, and Kolesnik for the Blue Jackets wins the Richard there. Heading into the offseason, we see a big-name retiree here in Alexander Ovechkin. Number 8, Ovi the Great, retires with 1,004 goals. Absolutely absurd. 1,813 points on his career. Phil Kessel, Jakub Voracek, Paul Stastny all retire with over 1,000 points too, but obviously no one's really going to compare to Ovechkin. In goal, Henrik Lundqvist retires with 662 wins in 1,342 career games. That is absurd. Sergei Bobrovsky almost broke 1,000 too, but yeah, nobody was coming close to Lundqvist at this point. That is just absolutely insane. Heading into the 2027, I believe it was the 27 draft, the Edmonton Oilers land a couple solid prospects, more goalies than anything really. But the big names there to pay attention to would be Cutler and Cruz, as those guys, again, would be sticking with the Oilers long term, as they were both medium top 6 forwards. Heading into the off-season, I guess it's the off-season here, we would have some big-name UFAs again in Chubasov, Benson, and Yamamoto, as well as restricted free agents in Marcus Nold and Rudolph Schutz, and then, some defensemen and, more role kind of pieces in Max Jones, Vikanainen, and Kyle Wood. And unfortunately, the way things would turn out, we would have to be making a move, so we would trade our lowest scoring, high-paid, over $10 million player in Tyler Benson in exchange for the Boston Bruins 2028 first-round pick, as well as their second-round picks in 2028 and 2029. So heading into the 2028 27/28 season, this is how the Oilers lineup would look. We would be running the big gun line again here with McDavid, Chubasov, and Draisaitl, seeing what they could put up with that +1 chemistry and obviously their crazy ratings. We would be playing Rudolph Schutz, Kyler Yamamoto, and Marcus Nold on the second line. Josh Wilkinson, Mason Nueve, and Eriksson on the third, and then Stankoven, Rice, and Bobrovsky on the fourth line. On defense, Miro Heiskanen and Bouchard both at 91 overall after winning the Cup, but we would end up making some moves, sending Klefbom and Lindholm to the Arizona Coyotes, I believe, to clear up cap space for our other players. And the defense would be looking weaker as a result of that. Obviously, Tiny Keeping would be in there, as well as a couple other players that we had drafted, such as Punnett. In goal, we would make a trade to land the goalie Aino Toskala off of the Calgary Flames. He is an Edmonton drafted player from way back. And yes, at 6'5", he's going to be a very good goalie, being backed up by Curtis Bowman there. As you can see, we did trade Nick Malik as well as Dominic Sumal to the Flames in exchange for Toskala. So heading into the 2028 season, the Oilers did pretty well, finishing with a... Oh, do I have a screenshot here of it? I don't know if I do. But the Oilers finished 61-20-1 for their craziest record so far with 123 points, obviously finishing first in the standings yet again. Really it was just a crazy season here from the Oilers. As you can see there by the scoring numbers, Connor McDavid and Kyler Yamamoto both put up the most ridiculous numbers we've ever seen from them. Draisaitl had some pretty big numbers too, but not nearly as crazy as McDavid. So heading into the 2027/28 playoffs, the Oilers yet again cut it close, winning 2 7-game series there in the conference finals against St. Louis and then in the Stanley Cup finals against Toronto. That's the second time we've met them there and beat them, but that would be equivalent to Edmonton's, let's see, how many cups have we won now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That would be Edmonton's 6th Stanley Cup in this franchise mode. Believe it or not, that's the numbers we're dealing with. In the AHL, Rockford was able to win the Calder Cup. The Bakersfield Condors got knocked out by the Ice Hogs in 7 games in the conference finals there. As far as team awards go, the Oilers win their 3rd Stanley Cup back-to-back-to-back. The President's Trophy also goes to the Oilers for the 3rd year in a row, and the Clarence Campbell Bowl as well. The Prince of Wales goes to the Tampa Bay Lightning. As far as individual awards go, Philip Forsberg wins the Art Ross. The Hart Memorial goes to Jack Eichel. The Norris goes to Heiskanen yet again. That's his 2nd in 3 years. Lady Byng goes to Mitch Marner. Calder goes to Paetsch for the Islanders. I don't know how to say his name. Conn Smythe goes to McDavid back-to-back years. As far as the Vezina goes, that went to Samsonov. Toskala wins himself the M. Jennings Trophy there. I don't even know who that is, wins the Master. Toronto's coach wins a Jack Adams. The Selke goes to Kirby Dach. Ted Lindsay goes to Eichel, and same with the Rocket. As far as retirees go, we see a couple big names here retire in the 2028 offseason as Sidney Crosby retires with 1,928 points. Just absolutely insane. I want to check where that puts him all time because that is a crazy number. So all time, that number would put Sidney Crosby number 2 behind the one and only Wayne Gretzky. That is absolutely absurd. Looking at Patrick Kane's 1,769 points there, that would be placing him in between Ron Francis and Marcel Dion for, I believe it would be 7th overall, as Ovechkin was higher up on that list as well. I believe Ovechkin was in between Howe and Messier, but I'd need to go back and check that number. So yeah, a couple big name all-time players here, and that is just crazy, obviously. As far as more players on that list go, you can see Brandon Saad all the way down to Craig Smith, lots of guys with at least 600 points in their careers. and that's absurd. Goalies weren't as overwhelming as the last couple years, as Jacob Markstrom was the best goalie to retire with 301 wins. Heading into the offseason, Edmonton had a couple of players that needed to be re-signed here, but nobody like crazily, out of order that we would need to make moves for. So yeah, as you can see there, those were all the guys that we drafted. Krause would be kind of the big name guy there. Thornton as well, we drafted high, but wasn't so great overall. And Morrison was the goalie we drafted, who was actually pretty good. As far as expiring players went for the offseason, Josh Wilkinson would be kind of the biggest name there, being 22 years old and already 85 rated. We were looking to keep him around for sure, but we had other names like Valentenko and Samorukov, who we were trying to keep, but not all those guys would be staying. As you can see, we had a lot of RFAs going into free agency this year, and fortunately we would be able to sign most of them, but we would have to make a couple moves. So Rudolph Schutz and the Boston second-round pick for 2029 would get sent to the Ottawa Senators in exchange for Nikolai Ehlers and Sonny Milano. Obviously, much better contracts, and we're adding an extra depth player in that move. We would also send Marcus Nold to the rivaled Anaheim Ducks in exchange for their elite defenseman Stan Wong, as well as Cini there as a depth player. So we would be able to sign pretty much everybody here off of contracts. We would make moves for Marco Rossi. All the other guys were our own players except for maybe Stribek. But yeah, those guys would all add into the team here. And we would actually make one more move looking to clear up cap space. We would move Milano pretty much instantly to the Arizona Coyotes in exchange for along with their second round pick in exchange for Tristan Blair. So heading into the 2020, what year is this? 2028/29 season, the Edmonton Oilers would sell 98% of their tickets for, just like how many cups back to back. We must have been on at least 2, if not 3. This was 2 cups back to back and 3 in the last 4 years. So yeah, all the fans were, pretty excited for the Oilers. As far as the lineup goes, fairly similar compared to the last couple of years. A couple moves there. Obviously, Nick Ehlers would be replacing Tyler Benson. Marco Rossi would move up into the top 6. Josh Wilkinson would be running the third line still, and that would be a solid group. Heiskanen and Bouchard would probably be spending their last year together here on the back line, as we would trade for Stan Wong. Robert Longeye would come up into the team, as well as Damon Baumgartner, both Edmonton drafted pieces there. I know Toskala would then be backed up by Earl Del Monte, as he would be another Edmonton drafted elite goalie. So finishing off the 2028/29 season, the Oilers, you can't really see it because my screenshotting was pretty atrocious, but you can see along the top bar there, the Oilers did win the President's Trophy yet again with a 55-25-2 record for what I believe was 112 points. So nothing ridiculous like we had in the past, but still very solid overall. The Bakersfield Condors would make the playoffs again with the 12th best record in the AHL. Looking at the scoring numbers, McDavid would relax a little bit at 32 years old, only scoring 103 points this year, but putting up a 50-50 campaign. Draisaitl would also put up 100, and Chubasov would put up 97. Heiskanen would have a crazy good season there, scoring 78 points on the back end. Heading into the 2029 playoff bracket, the Oilers yet again would cut things far too close, winning 2 6-game series, heading to the conference finals to take on the St. Louis Blues yet again, beating them in 7 yet again, and then going on to win in 7 against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Just too close for my liking, to be honest. In the AHL, the Condors would move past the Ontario Reign in 4 games, but then would get knocked out in 4 by the Colorado Eagles. The Toronto Marlies would go on to win the Calder Cup for 2029. So for the 2029/30 season, the Oilers win 4 cups in a row, as well as President's Trophies and Clarence Campbell Bowls. The Hurricanes met us in the finals again there, obviously, but were not able to beat us. For individual awards, Michael Kong from St. Louis won the Art Ross. The Hart Memorial went to Sebastian Aho. Norris went to Heiskanen for the 3rd year out of 4. Lady Byng went to Yamamoto for the 3rd year out of 4. And Tillo wins the Calder there for Philadelphia. Besides that, Yuri Chubasov wins another Conn Smythe there. John Gibson wins the Vezina. As far as the William M. Jennings Trophy goes, that award would be handed to John Gibson as well. That's just crazy. Kostison would win the Masterton there. The Selke would go to Scott. The Lindsay would go to Aho, and the Rocket would go to Kong as well. Heading into the offseason, the retiree class would see Tyler Seguin as well as Tarasenko, Panarin, and Duchesne all retire with over 1,000 points, 1,100 points each to be exact, if not more. And Jaden Schwartz, Ekman Larson, Victor Hedman, a couple other big names in there. As far as goalies go, nothing crazy, as Louis Domingue would finish with 118 wins. Heading into the draft, the Oilers were looking to clear up some cap space, so they would be making a pretty big move here, trading Nikolai Ehlers as well as Kolamainen, I believe is how you say his name. I don't know. We traded him, so I don't really pay attention to that, to the Columbus Blue Jackets in exchange for the 1st overall pick, which they were looking to trade. The Oilers would pick up a left-wing sniper in Barry Warner with the 1st overall pick. A couple other big names to pay attention to here would be Marshall as well as, I believe, Emery. Heading into the offseason, the Oilers were looking to clear up even more cap space as many players would be expiring, and Evan Bouchard would be the next best option here to move, as the Oilers would move Bouchard to Chicago for the Blackhawks 2030 first round pick and Noah Dobson. So, heading into the 2029/30 season, the Edmonton Oilers were looking to maintain their consistency as they sold 98% of their tickets yet again. The lineup would remain very much the same for the most part. Barry Warner would slot into the top 6 as an 84 overall 18-year-old rookie. Guys, trust me, I did not know what his rating was going to be when we traded up for that 1st overall pick. I was more just looking to clear cap space, but he seemed to fit very nicely there. We did see some growth in Eriksson, Mason Nueve, and Wilkinson throughout the team. Draisaitl did decrease, but at 33 years old, what do you expect? On the back end, obviously Bouchard would no longer be there, so Robert Longai would move up to the 1st pairing alongside our Norris Trophy winning Miro Heiskanen there. Damon Baumgartner and Noah Dobson would be running the 2nd pairing, and then Meyer and Vaikanainen would be on the 3rd. In net, we had possibly our best goaltending tandem ever in Aino Toskala and Earl Del Monte, as both goalies would be very much elite status goaltenders there. So finishing off the 2029/30 season, the Oilers would put up their best campaign of this entire franchise mode. I'm going to say it right now because 61 wins is honestly absurd. 128 points, we may never see that again from this Oilers team, especially with McDavid and Draisaitl. But yes, a very crazy campaign, winning them yet another President's Trophy. I would say this was their 3rd in a row, or no, this was their 4th in a row. So yeah, you guys get to see some pretty crazy numbers there overall. Leon Draisaitl would put up 109 points in this campaign, and Kailer Yamamoto would also break 100 with 103 points there. McDavid, Chubasov, both over 90. Wilkinson over 80. Heiskanen puts up 67. For the entire league, Michael Kong was able to win the scoring title with 119 points, 68 goals at that too, so that is pretty absurd. Draisaitl would still finish in the top 10 for scoring. Yamamoto would be close. As far as the 2030 playoff bracket would go, the Oilers would be close yet again, as they would win what was their 3rd Stanley Cup in a row here, and 4th Stanley Cup in 5 years, besting the what team was it? Besting the Carolina Hurricanes in 6 games, and really just cutting it too close against Anaheim and Nashville there. In the AHL, the Laval Rockets were able to win the Calder Cup. The Condors were able to beat the Stockton Heat in 4 games, but then got knocked out in 6 to the Tucson Roadrunners. Heading into the offseason, Steven Stamkos would be retiring with 1,649 points in 1,642 games, so just over a point a game there for Stammer. Carlson would retire with some of the highest scoring points we'd ever seen from a defenseman with 1,284. That is, again, just crazy numbers for someone in that position. That is just insane overall. So, Gaudreau would also retire there, as well as Ryan O'Reilly. Jordan Eberle would also be calling it quits. As far as goalies go, Freddie Anderson would break the 500 win mark there, with the Washington Capitals ending his career there. And David Rittich would finish with 339 wins. Heading into the draft, the Oilers, possessed a couple other teams' picks and were able to pick up a couple good players. Nobody crazy, but names to remember would be Faye, I don't know how to say it, Boumediene, I think, and Wellwood would be the names to remember there for the 2030 NHL draft. So heading into the 2030/31 season, the Oilers would sell yet again 98% of their tickets. Crazy numbers there. And this is how the lineup would be looking, as Leon Draisaitl would move down to the second line to provide better chemistry on the top line there with Warner, Yamamoto, and McDavid up top. Obviously, this lineup was still just looking crazy good. And, that would be proved here on the back end, too, with Heiskanen, Long-Eye, Dobson. Meyer wouldn't be as strong, but, still a pretty strong group overall. Aino Toskala would end up leaving us in free agency, and Earl Delamonte would become our number 1 goalie there. So guys, unfortunately this would be wrapping up the video, as we got to the date of, I think it was October 11th there, 2030, and as you can see by the video right there, the simulation just would not go any further, so we had to call it quits there, unfortunately. So wrapping up this career, Yamamoto put up 785 points in 790 games, a very good career from the 5'8" winger playmaker there. Yuri Chubasov would obviously average over a point a game there, scoring 870 points in just 822 games. He was on pace for a Hall of Fame career as well at just 28 years old. As far as Leon Draisaitl goes, 1,410 points in 1,257 games at 34 years old. I think he could have played at least another 3 to 4 years. So let's say he was averaging about 80 to 90 points those years. He would be right up there with, 1,600 points or so. And obviously the man himself, Connor McDavid, putting up 1,503 points in 1,188 games. Hall of Fame pace for all of those guys right there. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it to the end, please go down below, consider subscribing, make sure you leave a like on the video because that helps the YouTube algorithm, and go down below and comment how many points you believe McDavid, Draisaitl, Chubasov, and Yamamoto could have put up if they played out their full careers. And also, guys, I am going to be bringing a new series to you fairly soon here based on custom leagues. I will guarantee you that we will see Yuri Chubasov again. Maybe not in an Oilers uniform, but this is not the last time that he has been seen on this channel. But anyways, that's going to be it for me. This is Etanyos signing out, and see ya!